OCO, everyone. This is the word for hello in the Cherokee language. My name is Brian Russo, and welcome to our presentation on the upcoming 39th Annual Native Americans Elders and Youth Gathering at the Sunray Meditation Society in Peace Village in Lincoln, Vermont. This presentation will also give an overview of the Sunray Meditation Society and its mission over the last 4 decades for those just learning about this incredible society. We will begin with Sandra Sheridan sharing an opening prayer by Venerable Ywahoo, founder of Sunray Meditation Society. Sandra is a minister in training and a Sunray United Nations NGO representative.
All appearances are vibration, and our thought flows within a field of communication and together. We are dreaming a world of beauty. This year, we will explore more deeply the impact of our thought, emotions, and sound upon life experience and choose the harmonization of appearances of discordance. The power of song, the sound of our thought, the voice of our view contributes to the appearances arising, and we choose to sing the songs of liberation. Venerable Dhyani Ywahoo.
Thank you so much, Sandra. And we're so happy to have you join us here and to be able to talk about this gathering. This is the prayer that you just heard, and this is also the theme of this year's gathering, focused on the power of sound through revealing luminous clarity. Now I'd like to share some important information up front. The gathering will take place at the Sunray Meditation Society in Peace Village on Friday, and it will end Sunday, July 28th to the 30th, with workshops to follow on Monday, July 31st. This gathering is hosted by Venerable Dhyani Ywahoo, and she is the chief of the Green Mountain Wiwa and founder of the Sunray Meditation Society in Peace Village. So here is a link. You can go to the events tab on the site and select the Elders Gathering, or click that link in the description below on the recording. Sunray is an incredibly welcoming community, so please be in touch about any details or logistics related to joining us in person. This year, we're excited to offer free camping to all attendees. We'll also have fully catered meals available for purchase, in addition to the programs and other offerings that are part of the price of admission. Attending the gathering is a great opportunity to really experience the magic of being at the land at the Peace Village. I've been coming to the Elders Gathering and Peacekeeper training for nearly a decade, and it's been wonderful to be a part of this community and humbling to learn how to walk the beauty way with such wise and caring teachers. This beauty way is a way of being in the world that has inspired and guided me to be a more loving, authentic version of myself in service to the world. Venerable Dhyani Ywahoo has been such an inspiration in my life, and it's a joy and privilege to share about her lineage in the Elders and Youth Gathering. Venerable Dhyani Ywahoo is the 27th generation lineage holder of the ancestral Ywahoo lineage in the Slagi or Cherokee tradition. Venerable is a respected teacher worldwide, especially as she carries 3 intact streams of ancient spiritual wisdom, Slagi, as well as Nyingma and Drikung Kagyu lineages of Tibetan Buddhism. Venerable and Sunray members have accomplished much in the last 4 decades, including the establishment of the Sunray Meditation Society as an international spiritual organization dedicated to planetary peace. And this is her book, Voices of Our Ancestors, which I highly recommend getting a copy of. Sunray's mission is to preserve and share the teachings of the peacemaker from the Cherokee spiritual traditions and the teachings of peacemaking from Tibetan Buddhism. The Sunray Peace Village is a sacred space where people may pray, make offerings, hold ceremony, receive teachings, and create community to further the purposes of Sunray Meditation Society. The original peoples of the Americas prophesied that the day would come when they would share their spiritual teachings with all people. For the past 38 years, Venerable Dhyani Ywahoo and the Sunray Meditation Society have been fulfilling that prophecy through the annual Elders and Youth Gathering. Moreover, Venerable is recognized as a Khandro, the equivalent of a High Buddhist Lama in Tibetan Buddhism, and her work with Tibetan Buddhists signifies the prophecy meeting of Tibetan Buddhists and Native Americans joining together in harmonious spiritual practice to support the world being brought back into balance. As the holder of both Buddhist and Native American lineage, Venerable is a living embodiment of this prophecy and many prophecies coming to fruition as she is sharing her teachings so they may be put into action and support peacekeeping for generations to come. So now we get to take a little virtual tour of Sunray. Upon arriving, you feel like you're in another world. There's this palpable change in the air. And when you come to the gathering, it's not just like showing up to any event, but participating in an immersive experience. The land itself is so special. And then the energy is taken to another level when the Sunray community comes from far and wide to be in prayer and celebration at this gathering. So when you come in, you'll see the clan pole right at the entry. And we see the 7 clans of the Slagi or Cherokee, and they're represented by these animals. And Dhyani is of the wild potato clan, and that you can see is at the top. So this beautiful tree was taken from a practitioner of the Sunray's land, and it was carved and brought here. So as soon as you enter into the space, you are in this sacred valley. And this is a quote by Venerable that really gets to the heart of what it's like to be up in the Green Mountains in this valley. Just as our organs systems are supported by Mother Earth's compassion, she is supported by our caretaking. To return the earth, appreciation and caretaking of her waters, mountains, and atmosphere is the responsibility of her children, which is us. That is our song in this time. So the land here is very special, and so are the waters. In Cherokee, the water is Ama, or consciousness, like Mama, and when we awaken to the cleansing properties of water, we wash away the obstacles to good relationship with self, others, and the earth. So Sunray is involved in a number of water stewardship initiatives, and it's really special to be up in these beautiful waters that end up going through the entire Northeast watershed. So it's a very sacred place that's being stewarded by the society. And also, as you enter into the grounds of Sunray, is this beautiful stupa that's also a reliquary. And of course, the white Tara shrine, which is circumnavigated, and many prayers are offered there. This is a picture of the inside of the shrine, and of course, Venerable meeting with the Dalai Lama. So the main buildings at Sunray, this is the Adawe temples, and this is also the Adawe's temple where Venerable gives her teaching. And it's a special room with an octagonal geometry. So when you go into this space, you feel it's like going into a plane, and you just feel there's a change of elevation. Just everything that's in that room and the immaculateness of that space is something to experience. And this is the community hall where a lot of events occur. There's also this beautiful lotus labyrinth, which is much like the journey of enlightenment and knowing ourselves. There's this beautiful meadow where all of the tents get set up. Again, you can come and camp on the land and just look at these beautiful vistas. And we also have, again, streams and nearby rivers as well. So this is one of my absolute favorite places, the arbor. So when you move through Sunray, at the very end of the property where all of the main buildings are, you go to the arbor. And the arbor is essentially a circle of cedar pylons. And as you can see in this picture right here, the different colored bands, they mark the 4 directions. So I like to think that this is really one of the beating hearts of Sunray. And you can see, just as this is the sun and this is the peace labyrinth, there's also a moon arbor. So it's really representing that as well. And really, this is showing that elders and youth gathering is a place for everyone of like-mind and heart committed to living in harmony with the earth and all living beings, to learn, listen, share, and experience the creative power of a global spiritual community. This is not just an idea, but a practice that is implemented through the Cherokee teachings. For example, the dance of the 4 directions is performed in the sacred arbor, and the effects of this dance enhance the health of each individual by strengthening their electromagnetic fields. Furthermore, the dance is a responsibility we have to be in right relation with the earth and support the harmony of humanity with the earth and the cosmos. The dance that takes place in the arbor with these cedar posts surrounds a sacred fire in its center. And just to be around that fire and to see the wisdom keepers caretake the fire is an experience in itself. So this is where many of the teachings take place at the gathering. And this is also where the basic Sunray meditation is offered in many places, but this involves singing the chants of the Ywahoo lineage that have been passed down for thousands of years in this arbor. So the state of being there when there's no one there and when there's hundreds of people there, you can feel the silence and the deep connection, the heartbeat of nature and Mother Earth right there. And then when everyone's joined in celebration, you really feel the full force of the energy that this place has. So very, very special. The Sunray community is experiencing its 39th year of inviting now younger people as well as elders to join in the continuation of this work and peacekeeping mission. So it used to just be called Elders Gathering, and now it is expanding to be Elders and Youth. And the story of youth and elders coming together is reflected in this new naming. One of my favorite parts of the gathering is the inclusion of scientists, whether it's physicists or biologists, people that are climatologists. It's really amazing who comes to this space because they know the work that's being done here. So this is a picture of Dr. Rudy Shield, who I've gotten the opportunity to know over the past 10 years, who's a professor emeritus at Harvard, and him and Dhyani talk in great depth for many years as well on how the physics really that we know now is aligning with the ancestral teachings of Dhyani's lineage, as well as many of the traditions of original people. So this has to do, again, going back to the electromagnetic field around the body. How does that interface with the universe? And then what are the tangible effects of that? How do I then walk in health and harmony with my planet, knowing more about the cosmos and my relation to it? So this is definitely one of my favorite parts of this, because we have people coming together from so many walks of life, so many different nationalities, and everyone's accepted. There's no place on earth where the wisdom of our ancestors meets the cutting edge modern science like it does at our gathering. As Venerable
OCO friends. OCO is the Cherokee or Salagi word for hello. We are honored to join many other peacemakers during Peace Week to bring to you this presentation with our panel from the Sunray Meditation Society in Peace Village. I'm Olivia Cheever, member of the Council of Trustees of the Sunray Meditation Society and Peace Village Land Trust. It is my pleasure, through a few slides, first to introduce you to our founder and spiritual director, Venerable Dhyani Ywahoo, and then to give you a brief tour of her beautiful Cherokee Peace Village. Then I will introduce our panelists from Sunray, who will share with you how each has been impacted by Venerable Sunray Peacekeeper Teachings and her elders and youth gatherings at the Peace Village for many years. As they share, for your convenience, we are putting all relevant links for further information about Sunray Peace Village and Sunray events in the chat. Odaliutuji, meaning Hope Mountain, is the Ani Yunwiwa Cherokee name for the Peace Village. It was founded in 1985 and is located in Lincoln, Vermont, in the beautiful Green Mountains. The Cherokee are a matrilineal tribe where women are respected in partnership with men and are named chiefs. Aniyunwiwa means principal people in Cherokee. Sunray Meditation Society and Peace Village were recognized as a UN NGO in 1992 because of the work that Venerable Dhyani and others from Sunray have done to restore the rights of indigenous peoples in Central and South America. We are grateful to be able to offer you 2 Sunray events during this year's Peace Week. Today's panel, and also in celebration for the UN International Day of Peace, another Sunray panel sharing the amazing history of Sunray UN NGO. We hope you will join us for that event too. This is Venerable Dhyani Ywahoo with the cover of the first book she wrote in 1987, Voices of Our Ancestors, Cherokee Teachings from the Wisdom Fire. We highly recommend this book. Venerable has written other books as well. If you are curious to know more, you can go to Venerable Dhyani's website, beautywayproductions.org. Some of you may remember that Venerable has offered prayers for the past 2 years during World Unity Week, and last year on the last day ending the 99 Days of Peace. She has also joined the 22 grandmothers offering prayers on the 22nd of each month on Facebook. Once again, Venerable has been invited to offer prayers this year during Peace Week. Venerable Dhyani is the holder of 3 intact spiritual lineages. She is the 27th lineage holder of the Cherokee Aniyun Wiwa ancestral Ywahoo lineage, which is thousands of years old. She is a recognized Khandro, or Master Dharma teacher, in 2 Tibetan Buddhist lineages, Drikung Kagyu and Nyingma. She is also the chief of the Wild Potato Clan of the Eastern Aniyun Wiwa Cherokee Band. This is the area now known as Green Mountain Park, within which, in this beautiful sacred ancestral land, the Peace Village, Odali Utuji, is located at the base of Mount Abraham. This is the entrance to Odali Utuji. As an Aniyun Wiwa Cherokee Peace Village, it is indeed a global sanctuary of hope and a retreat center dedicated to world peace, reconciliation, and spiritual practice, where all are welcome in fulfillment of prophecy, and many have come to offer prayers for peace over the years. When you come and visit, you can immediately feel a shift in energy when you enter the Peace Village, which deepens the further in that you go to explore its sacred places. This is also the home fires of Sunray Meditation Society, which was founded in 1969 as a vehicle for Sunray Peacekeeper Teachings, which have been taught globally by Venerable Dhyani Ywahoo and her assistants since 1969. In 1985, Venerable founded the Sunray Peace Village Land Trust to preserve this land for perpetuity. When you walk in the gate, immediately on your left, you see this beautiful peace stupa, which is on the right in the slide, representing Sunray as a Tibetan Buddhist Dharma center. On the right, you find a carved Cherokee clan pole, which is on the left in this slide, which until peace villages were outlawed in the US in the 1800s, marked the entrance and welcomed anyone, even non-natives, to be cleansed of their transgressions by the grandmothers. Then they were able to re-enter their societies. The carvings represent 7 clans of the Cherokee. Venerable's Wild Potato Clan is at the top. When the U.S. Congress restored the rights of indigenous people to their spiritual sovereignty in the Indian Religious Freedom Act in 1978, this opened the door once again for Native teachings to be shared appropriately with non-natives as well. Venerable Dhyani was one of the first to do this. This led to her reestablishing a Cherokee Peace Village in a place envisioned by her ancestors and herself. Venerable knew she had found what they had foretold when she found this land in Vermont at a major watershed of the Appalachian Mountains, where there are 7 springs and rivers flow from here to the sea. Her ancestors and indigenous wisdom keepers prophesied at this time that they would begin to share their wisdom with non-native people. Thus, her peace village and gatherings there are the fulfillment of these prophecies. Here is our 8-sided octagonal Adawi temple. Venerable's ancestral Peacekeeper Ywahoo teachings are also based on sacred geometry. In addition to Cherokee and Tibetan Buddhist lineage altars, inside are altars representing the major faiths, showing that we welcome people of all faiths to join us in prayer. Here is the arbor where we keep the ceremonial cycles. We hold our monthly new moon fires and annual elders and youth gathering at the end of July. We smudge before we enter at the eastern gate that you see here with the yellow flags, and walk sunwise around the arbor to pray to all the directions, represented by different colored flags. Before we take our place around the circle, the fire of the sun is in the center. There is a moon arbor for the women, not pictured on this slide, located in the southwest, outside the main arbor. Where the fire of the moon is kept by the grandmothers. They are joined by women on their moon, or menses, who do not enter the main arbor at this time due to women's special medicine and wisdom. We have a beautiful lotus labyrinth located to the east, just beyond the eastern gate, again outside the arbor. This is the poster for our 39th Elders and Youth Gathering, which just happened the last weekend in July with 27 presenters, including Aztec sacred dancers, among others. Each year, Venerable Dhyani chooses a theme. This year, it was the power of sound and thought, revealing luminous clarity. With many sound healers, musicians, dancers, singers, including evolutionary leader and Sunray community member, Brian Russo, who is part of our panel today, and Hereditary Chief Phil Flynn Jr., whom many of you here today know as a great global peacemaker. After the 3-day Elders and Youth Gathering, Friday through Sunday, Elders and Youth offer additional workshops on Monday with important information about how to change and live sustainably and prepare for earth changes. Never too soon. We are inviting you to our Elders and Youth Gathering next July, where we bring together once again people of all ages to pray, learn, heal, celebrate, and be in ceremony with wisdom keepers, scientists, educators, artists, musicians, and more, to learn how we can live in harmony on Mother Earth. We will be offering recordings of both the Elders and Youth Gathering of 2023 and the workshops for sale soon. For those who registered and attended the weekend, they are included in the registration fee. Here now are a few slides of Sunray elders, past and present. Here you can see Venerable Dhyani seated to the right of a Tibetan Lama who's visiting with his translator. And behind them, this is the Western Gate. You see some of the elders. Here are some of the grandmothers, including some from Hawaii. This is Venerable Dhyani Ywahoo and Grandmother Patricia Deostes, another Cherokee grandmother. This is High Cherokee Chief Grandfather Warren Ramey with Reverend Melly, who is not only the assistant to Venerable Dhyani, she is also our wonderful Mistress of Ceremonies for the Elders and Youth Gathering. Here are some more Sunray elders, and as you can see, we also have children. This is a firekeeper, carefully building a fire in the shape of a pyramid in the arbor. Sunray firekeepers are invited by Venerable on this path. They go through intensive training and apprenticeship to learn how to caretake the sacred fire. During our Elders and Youth Gatherings, the fire is lit at sunrise on Friday morning and is kept lit and lovingly caretaken by the Sunray firekeepers until it is allowed to go out by itself at sunset on Sunday at the end of the weekend. The men tend to the fire of the sun in the main arbor. The women tend to the fire of the moon in the moon arbor. Here is a grandmother giving teachings to the women in the moon circle. We welcome children of all ages with their parents to our elders and youth gatherings to join in the fun and make music and art. Here is Sunray community member, talented musician and songwriter, Donna Hammers, with some children having a great time. We also welcome youth to come enjoy the Peace Village on their own special Peace Fest weekend. This is how you can keep informed about sunray.org Elders Gathering. This is the Peace Fest. This is a slide of Jose Rodriguez and Julia Clemento giving a workshop about permaculture. In July 2022, Sunray community member Margaret Schultz envisioned holding a substance-free musical fest, which was such a big success that now Sunray holds it every year in mid-July. At Peace Fest, all ages can listen and dance to great local bands, enjoy artist creations, and learn about permaculture, Sunray meditation, and sacred dance. There's wonderful food and vendors, and everyone has a great deal of fun. We are pleased that Jose and Julia are going to be offering another workshop on the land at Sunray October 30th, showing how to plant trees using permaculture principles. For more information about Peace Fest, you can go to this link. Here is a banner for the fall workshops, September 30th, October 1st, and November 18th. And you can find out more about that on our website. And also, by signing up for our Sunray newsletter, the Dragonfly, we put that link also in the chat. We're offering these fall workshops online and on site with some of the presenters from our July Elders and Youth Gathering to build on what they shared this summer. Everyone is welcome on site and online. You don't have to have attended this women's workshop to enjoy their fall workshops. Before we hear from our panelists, we also want to invite you to Venerable Dhyani's Peacekeeper Teaching, to be held on site and online Saturday and Sunday, October 28th through 29th. Registration opening soon. Peacekeeper is held 2 times a year in the fall and spring, both online and on site. For information, we welcome you to check out at sunray.org/peacekeeper. To give you a taste of the foundation of Venerable Peacekeeper's teachings, here are the 7 reminders of the Pale One, a miraculous being who came to the Cherokee 2,800 years ago when their societies had fallen out of balance. Here are the 9 precepts of the Pale One. Venerable's Peacekeeper curriculum is based on these and other Ani-Yun Wiwa and Tibetan Buddhist peacemaking practices, which can be applied to your life and work in practical ways, such as creating a community project. For information, we welcome you to check it out at sunray.org/peacekeeper. In our remaining time now, you will hear from our panelists who will answer 2 questions. I'll introduce each one to you as they answer the first question. Then we'll do a second round when each will answer a second question. Here is a slide of Indigenous peoples meeting together at the United Nations in New York City. It is my pleasure to introduce as our first panelist, Sunray Minister Reverend Sandy Sheridan, who is also one of our Sunray UNGO reps serving at the UN for the past 25 years. Sandy, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to see everyone. One of the things that was really wonderful for me at the Elders and Youth Gathering was to be able to present about the Sunray NGO work. Carolyn DiCarlo and I are the Sunray representatives, and we work with the NGO Committee on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. So we were very pleased to be able to explain about some of the work that we do there with the committee. We spoke particularly about a side event that we did recently in April at the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues that was held at UN headquarters in New York and online. The title of this side event was Indigenous Worldviews on Plants, Human and Planetary Health. So we brought together 4 Indigenous people from around the world to hear about their perspectives on plants and their relationship with plants. We had a Shinnecock woman from Long Island. We had a Yankton Sioux man from North Dakota, who is the executive director of the American Indian Community House in New York City. We had a father from the Kadia tribe in Orissa, India, and we had a doctor from Colombia who works with indigenous peoples and medicines. So they each spoke about their traditional ways of being with plants, which was most fascinating to see and to learn about and to understand more. There's such a respect and such an honoring of plants, whether it's the trees, in the tropical rainforests or the low shrubs in other areas of the world. That there's such a relationship there with the plants. So there was enthusiasm, there was interest in this, which we were happy to see. And we were happy that we were able to share that to show you how the Sunray Peacekeeper principles are put into action. So this is one way that those Peacekeeper principles are put into action. The other thing I wanted to say to answer that first question is just to be on the land is remarkable. When you're on the Peace Village itself, on the land, you're just naturally infused with respect and compassion for all beings. You know you're in a space with the land, with the earth, and you're also among other people of like mind and like heart who really want to put into action these principles of right relationship and working together harmoniously.
Thank you, Reverend Sandy. That was really wonderful to hear. I'm going to now introduce our council president, Dr. Janet Kahn. Janet, welcome.
Thank you, Olivia, so much. I'm actually going to give you 2 answers to this question. I'm not good at just one thing.
Wonderful.
So here's what I'm going to say first of all. And that is that it is always a joy for me to see the elders coming together, to just see them arriving, see them seeing one another again, because they come together to confer with one another, to enjoy being present with one another, to tease one another, and collectively to grace the Peace Village with their presence at the same time as they receive the blessing of being on that land, that really sacred land that Sandy just described a little bit for you. So this has always been a deep joy for me, to watch them with one another. And when I speak about the elders gathering, there's always an apostrophe after the word elders, because they're coming together to share their understandings with one another, as well as us, but very importantly with one another, to share their understandings of what's happening, what might be coming, what they see coming, what teachings are needed at this time. And all of this is about offering them a good place to come together. That's what we get to do. And then we also get to watch what they are doing. We have the great benefit of receiving the teachings that they speak, but also the teachings that they are, how they listen to one another, how they listen to the fire, to the birds, to the clouds. And simply by watching them, we learn a lot. I have felt that for the last 30 plus years that I've been coming to these gatherings. So that's a joy for me, a wonderful experience. And the other one, if I have a little more time, that I want to mention is that for me in this particular elders gathering, it was a fabulous experience to be maintaining the fire in the moon arbor for a while. I do that many months of the year. We rotate, we fire keepers, during the ceremonial new moon celebrations. I tend that fire sometimes. But there are rarely as many people there during those events as there are at the elders gathering, because this is a huge gathering. So it was just wonderful to receive young women, some of whom were coming into that moon arbor for the first time, and receiving some teachings about what it means to be on the moon and what our responsibility is there in the moon arbor. Because I believe, Olivia, you said earlier today that it's a separate arbor, because we have a particular responsibility. The understanding of what happens with women when we're on our moon is, says a grandmother for whom it's been years. But anyway, our moon is that we have a responsibility to be watching the community and the clouds and the everything, to see what is happening, what the mood of the community is, where it seems like things are going, and to report out later what we do see. We are always turned to with that question, because our awarenesses are keener at this time. So for me, being there, watching the sky and the clouds and the young women and the fire, of course, that I was tending was quite marvelous. So those are two of the events.
Thank you so much, Grandmother Dr. Janet Kahn. Thank you so much. I'm going to now introduce to you Council Treasurer and Sunray Minister Eileen Koo. Eileen, can you answer the first question? What was one of your most wonderful experiences at this year's Elders and Youth Gathering? Welcome.
Thank you, Olivia. I spend most of the time in Elders Gathering at the registration tent. So this year, being the first year that we made it Elders and Youth Gathering, it felt really wonderful to be welcoming, and the energy there was really heartfelt, and greeting many people coming through, all kinds of people, and it was very joyful, and I think there was an excitement that many people haven't seen each other for a while, those of us that have been coming to the Peace Village, and for some, there were a few years that we haven't been coming, and so it was just wonderful gathering of our friends and community, as well as welcoming all the new people that came along. I was able to be in the arbor a few times during the mornings for offering the dance of the directions. That was really beautiful, and with old and new members together doing this practice. And the other time I was able to be in the arbor was Sunday afternoon during my minister testing. And that was just a really incredible experience. And just I felt so connected with all of the ancestors and the whole community, all of our friends and family, all of the elders who were present. It was a very, very heartfelt moment for everyone, I think, that still resonates with light and joy. And this is what the Elders and Youth Gathering brings.
Thank you, Reverend Eileen. Yes, it was indeed beyond words when you did your test and when Reverend Sandy did her test. It's my great pleasure now to introduce Sunray community member and evolutionary leader, as well as sound healer and author, Brian Russo. Brian, what was your most wonderful experiences at this year's Elders and Youth Gathering?
Well, there are so many, and I just wanted to thank you and just acknowledge all the Sunray leadership and reverends here. Just to be part of this is so wonderful. And coming back to elders after first being introduced to it 8 years and getting to be a presenter at the first Elders and Youth Gathering was such a special moment. And when I thought of all the words that were just said, so much was just coming through. Sandy saying, you just have to be, Reverend Sandy saying, you just have to be on the land and feel it. And that's what I think is so amazing with people. Just, yes, come up for Elders and Youth Gathering and come to Peacekeeper, but just even make the pilgrimage to the land, because even in its silence of going there in the arbor, the feeling is so palpable. And that is what I think one of my takeaways is there is with the people there, it's electrifying because it really takes you into that felt experience of this is what it's like to deeply listen and be and know yourself as part of this great pattern that we're weaving. And I think that in that space, hearing all of the elders speak their truth is just an unbelievable experience that you have to be there to feel it. And one of those elders was Chief Lee. And one of the stories he was recounting was really being in this moment of not a dark night of the soul, but certainly a challenging time. And he was there at the top of a mountain praying, crying, and just having the lightning come through and strike. And normally when people describe being struck by lightning, it can be a jarring experience. But for him, he's like, it was just relief. It was like the universe coming through me in that moment, like beautiful, blissful, everything is going to be all right type of energy. And this is just one of the kinds of stories that you'll hear that I think to a modern audience, we would think that's impossible that could happen. But this is what it's like to come to the land and to step into a worldview where not just everything is possible, but what is really meant to happen. I think a lot of synchronicities happen there. The people that you meet, the opportunities you have to continue your practices through the workshops like the ones that Olivia talked about. Certainly the Aztec dancers that you mentioned, seeing them, I was transported to like it was 1,000 years somewhere in the past and the same dances were being done. This is the lineage. This is the tradition where it keeps going from the beginning of the gathering, from the opening fire and dancing in front of the 4 directions to the end, to the last fire ceremony, is that continuous weaving of wisdom that benefits all and is kind of the medicine we need at this time. So just a few more, because I would feel remiss to miss them. We had Nana Wilma from Guatemala come, and that water ceremony, oh my gosh, I was able to bring up some water from Pocahontas Spring where I helped steward in Massachusetts. And we used that water, and just seeing her go around and collect our prayers and have that in the water and taking the flower and just letting the water come back onto our heads and our hands, and just see a child then take that water and bring it down to the river to carry all our prayers that were blessed by the fire and all the elements and bring it back so that we can continue and put that flow into the world. And that's what we've lost as a culture, is this recognition that our prayers, our intention with the rest of the universe matters, and it makes a difference, and it keeps the waters flowing. So that and the Peruvian whistling vessels, which Reverend Richard brought. So imagine these clay jars almost that have whistling sound, and it feels almost like a million years happens in 30 seconds. You're just ascending to this sound. I can only think of it like the day taking you to the twilight, and suddenly you've gone through and it's the next day. You're just absolutely traveling to the sound of these high-pitched whistles that bring you to such a point of clarity and peace. And, that's just one of the many things in the day. So I will leave it at that. And of course, just say how humbled and grateful I was to be able to play my crystal singing bowls in the arbor and share that joy and share that light. It was such a pleasure. Thanks, Olivia.
Thank you, Brian. It was indeed wonderful to have you there. And thank you for all those memories. And as I say, if you get the recording, you'll be able to see what he's talking about. Now we're going to do question 2. And question 2 is, why would you recommend attending not only the elders and youth gathering, but the Peacekeeper Teachings?
Okay, so I actually, when I was thinking about this, I was thinking more about Peacekeeper than about the elders and youth gathering. So I have that in mind. Yeah. So I was about to sound like President Biden. So here's the deal. We're in a really particular moment in time. It's always been true. I mean, every moment is a particular moment. But here we are in this time of relatively rapid planetary change. There's always change. No moment is like the next. But things are really shifting a lot before our eyes and under our feet now. And to me, that means that it is a wonderful and incredibly important opportunity to take Peacekeeper Teachings as an example, or attend an elders gathering, to be introduced to ways that we can help ourselves, our communities, and the planet herself find new balance, keep staying in as near as we can get to balance. And of course, that has to begin with ourselves, because it's us humans who are kind of out of balance and have been not really in right relationship for minimally a few hundred years. Let's just say that what we're living with planetarily now is pretty related to the Industrial Revolution and everything that has followed since. So there's no returning to how it was. That's just a hope to let go of at any time, because we're only moving forward. There's no going back. And I say that less about the planetary change and more about people's response to COVID, where they keep hoping for things to get back to normal. And things are not going back. They're going forward, maybe to a new normal. So the ways in which we can move first ourselves and then our communities and the whole of Gaia forward in a good way are so varied. I mean, everything we think, everything we speak, every prayer we offer or don't offer has impact. And we rarely think of ourselves that way, I think, seems to me. But it's important for us to know that. And so the teachings that I received and that anyone receives through Peacekeeper really are about how to live in right relationship with ourselves, with our friends, with people we've never met, with every form of life, and with the planet. And so, and one of the things I just want to say in terms of finding balance and finding a good way to be here, it's not just written lessons or something that you get in Peacekeeper. It's really about doing. And so the effects of the dances that we learn, of the visualizations that we practice, of the chants and songs that we offer, all of that changes us. And that's the beginning of the changes that we need to see happen one by one by one by 10 million, by 10,000 million, it will happen. It is happening.
Yeah.
So that's why I recommend Peacekeeper Teachings. Plus, you end up being part of a community, and people have felt isolated coming out of COVID, or having been in COVID, coming out of, and we're not really coming out of, because COVID's still creating new variations. So there's still some kinds of isolation. And to be part of a community in person, part of a community in Zoom, it's just rich and lovely. I cannot recommend it enough. Changed my life.
Thank you, Grandmother Dr. Janet Kahn. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Reverend Sandy again. Sandy, would you answer that question about why you would recommend Peacekeeper?
Yes, very similar. About Peacekeeper, the Peacekeeper is the foundational practice of the Ywahoo lineage, or of the Ywahoo, the Cherokee, and particularly the Ywahoo lineage, which Venerable Dhyani Ywahoo is teaching about. So it's really recommended, for those of us who want clarity in life. What is our purpose? What are we looking for? Where are we best suited? It's about ways of transforming your thought, your actions, and your energy, which is quite a process. Mm-hmm. So it's transforming those things that may be a hindrance in your life. And we do that, through dance, through the basic meditation practice, through singing, through drumming, through the crafts, all these different ways that we're transforming. And the idea, of course, is just to bring peace and balance and some harmony, both into oneself, but also into all your relations. Now, all your relations can be Mother Earth, all the beings on Earth, and yourself, your family, your community, maybe your state, your nation, and the planet. So there's many, many different levels. The Peacekeeper program is rooted in the timeless Native American spiritual wisdom of caretaker mind and living in right relationship within the circle of life. So it's so much about right relationship. And that's what the Peacekeeper program is about. How you look at yourself, your processes, your patterns, what you can do with that. You're not sitting there just listening to theory or writing notes or something. You're really active. You're doing things. You're dancing, you're singing. You're really fully integrating it into your being in the different levels of your being. One learns ways of walking the beauty road, as they say. So I recommend the Peacekeeper Teachings, of course. Now, the other thing I want to say regarding this question is about the elders and youth gathering. As we've heard from everybody speaking, it's transformational. To hear talks from these wisdom beings, it is a rare opportunity. It's a rare and unique opportunity. It's incredible, really. To be able to participate in the ceremonies and the practices and the songs and dances. Again, that's another step and another way to really be who you are. Be who you are. I think this was mentioned before about there's a lot of learning that happens. And it's not just necessarily when you're in the arbor listening to people present, but it's when you're out walking around with people and you're watching and you're observing and you see the elders and you look and you see it's right there in front of you. Basically, we're just trying to be better human beings. And Sunray, the Peace Village, the elders and youth gathering, the Peacekeeper Teachings, they are a hidden gem.
Thank you so much, Reverend Sandy. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Reverend Eileen. how do you recommend, or why would you recommend the Peacekeeper, particularly, Reverend Eileen?
It's what everybody has already said, but the Peacekeeper teachings, I did Peacekeeper back in 1987, and it is still alive today. The teachings are timeless, and the teachings that we learned apply in our lives. It has changed my life. I was a young person when I first started and really needed some guidance and where my life is going, what is my purpose. So these are things that one can receive. Also, what is unique about the Peacekeeper teachings also is that it also brings in, along with the Ywahoo lineage teachings, there are also Tibetan Buddhist practices that we do during the intensive weekends. And it's just another way to bring in the one taste that we are all one, and the teachings are for everyone.
Thank you, Reverend Eileen. And now our last panelist, Brian, why would you recommend Peacekeeper particularly?
Peacekeeper has been a definite formative experience in my life, and just being in the Ywahoo temple, listening to Venerable, there's so much going on in a single moment. I just remember back to a point where I feel like she read my mind and just answered the exact question that I had. It's a mystical space. And as much as I like to always say, it's about keeping your feet on the ground, but also your head in the sky, seeing the big picture, but staying grounded. And one of the Venerable's teachings that I learned in Peacekeeper was to ask, does this grow corn, right? Does this have a real tangible impact in your life? And it's true. And I think all of the speakers so far have talked about that very tangible guidance that Peacekeepers provided. And that really, and I'm hopefully the people listening to this, I'm singing to the choir, but it gets beyond this, that this is really a cultural template that works for all cultures and weaves through all cultures. So whatever faith, whatever background you're coming from, you're secular, you're religious, you're spiritual, you will find a way, as Venerable says, take your tradition and put it first, but see how what Sunray offers reflects that and comes into those practices, and it doesn't intrude. It just is. And when you experience it, you'll understand how it will come together and become a part of your life, as it has my own and led me here. One of the other stories I was thinking about that I definitely want to share here is just about that flow. And last weekend, I was at a festival at Camp Timber Trails in Western Massachusetts in Tallinn, Mass, called Unifier, which I'm happy and thoroughly recommend to everyone here. And I had been talking to people about Sunray and coming to the Peacekeeper and the gatherings. And I ran into a young woman named Sol, and it took her a moment. And then she goes, wait a minute. In Lincoln, Vermont, that Sunray, I was just there for Peace Fest. So this is it. This is the continuation of the Ywahoo lineage and these Peacekeeper teachings that is getting out there slowly and steadily. And I think that in events like this, yes, when Reverend Sandy said it's a hidden gem, it is. But, for those with the eyes to see, here's the flashlight. We're showing you it right here. This is only beyond 1/1,000,000th of a iota of the iceberg that is Sunray that you're getting. And the words themselves, I would go back and listen to this video and listen and really pause and take in each of these things that people said here. This Peacekeeper teaching and all of the rest of what Sunray offers is how to be in right relation with the circle of life, which has been a profound teaching that has impacted the way I look at everything and how I want to be in the world and be a better person. And certainly we are at a time of great change. And I think that it also is a time of transition, and that we're entering the unitive age. everything can come together because everything already is intrinsically connected and already is together. It's just about knowing these practices and patterns and wisdom teachings and embodying it, that we're actually able to then bring those unitive patterns to our culture to really be that change. Peace Fest, Peacekeeper, Elders and Youth Gathering, the Unifier Festival I was at, so many people were talking about the need to get this regenerative culture that is based in sacred connection to the land and waters. I mean, just learning from Chief Lee, Mine Wichone, which is something I've known for a long time as a water steward, that water is life. And when we really understand that and get in touch, and I think, again, coming from a background as somebody that grew up Catholic, you can hold on to your teachings as you will, but also understand that the practices here that relate to the land and the waters, that this goes beyond just a religious application as much as a felt experience. And also we have the scientific documentation to back it up. So at Peacekeeper, as well as other Sunray offerings, we brought in quantum physicists. They've brought in quantum physicists, and we've learned about how the most growing edge applications of all of these physics are now coming full circle with our ancestral wisdom in these practices. So nothing is really left out. It's an incredibly holistic view of the world that's not only offered in Peacekeeper, but is embodied, and it entrains people to get into that resonance so that they, when they go home, they can be that light to others and create the culture that changes that, because that's what Mother Earth is telling us right now is we can't keep doing this the way we're doing it, and you can't just keep doing more of the same or you'll get more of the same. We need to try something new, and just like we talked about Sunray being this place of prophecy coming true, many prophecies, but it's a place where you can really focus on actualizing that. And this is not just any t-shirt. This is my Sunray meditation t-shirt with the mountains, Mount Abraham in the sun, and the purity of all of that is one of those places on earth that really resonates with that spirit of the unitive age coming forth. So I'm very blessed to be involved in this organization. And thank you, Olivia and Reverend Sandy and Reverend Eileen and Janet for doing this, because I know that this video will be watched, hopefully thousands of times, and that it will be a magnet to draw more people to this land and bring forth many blessings. So thank you kindly.
Thank you so much, Brian. It's wonderful to have you also as a sound healer who performed at the Elders Gathering and whom you can see on the Elders Gathering recording, which will be available sometime this fall. One of the things I also want to say is that for many years, all of this had to be bundled, as we say. Now, Venerable Dhyani and the elders are generously sharing these teachings that go back thousands of years. And I'll tell you one more thing before we close. Venerable Dhyani and her ancestors actually envisioned and foretold that Venerable would be traveling the world with help or work for the House of Micah, which is what they called the UN. And not only that, that her people, the Ywahoo lineage carriers, would also meet with their ancient relatives, the Tibetan Buddhists. And that happened in the 80s. And that's how we now are one taste, but three intact lineages that Venerable Dhyani holds. So we want to thank all our panelists and all of you for joining us for this introduction, very brief, to our Peace Village and upcoming events. We hope you'll come in person, or even just online if you can't come in person quite yet, to discover for yourself. And for further info, we've put all the links in the chat. So please save the chat and be in touch. And one of those links is to sign up for our newsletter every 2 weeks, the Dragonfly, which will keep you informed. And if you want to know more about the history of Sunray UNGO with Reverend Sandy, Please join us and other panelists for another presentation during this Peace Week for the International Day of Peace on the amazing continuing history of Sunray, UN NGO. See you there. Thanks for joining us, and do come visit us at Odali Utuji, online or better still, in person.
We're coming home.